Freedom and censorship can't exist in the same world. And that's true whether it's the government or private corporations who do the censoring. Hi, I'm Ron Coleman, and welcome to the ColemanNation podcast. It's a show where I sit down with guests to discuss the future of free expression and thought in our interconnected world. Here we will focus on issues involving social media, cancel culture, and free expression that everybody who cares about ideas or freedom should be wrestling with. Hey, Ron Coleman and Jack Murphy together after so many years together, knowing each other on Twitter. And Jack has been kind enough with his massive social media empire to be one of my very first podcast guests. And I really appreciate that, Jack. And, as I was looking for stuff for us to talk about, I mean, there's no limit to what we could be talking about and what you like to talk about and what you're qualified to talk about. So looking at your damn YouTube, you already talked about everything. You already talked about everything. You already talked about it recently, and you already talked about it with my friends.
We do have a lot of mutuals. We do have a lot of mutuals, Ron.
It was only on March 14th of this year, and for historians looking at this, in the time capsule, that's March 14th, 2021, Jack spoke with Reboy and Darren Beatty, who is not, we actually don't follow each other, but Will Chamberlain, who I made Will. Believe me, there's no Will Chamberlain without Ron Coleman. And talked about, yeah, right, I just made that up. Talking about big tech censorship, which was supposed to be my issue, but it's okay because I don't want to talk about it. I'm actually bored with it. There was something actually, though, in one of your YouTube, in your library, that is of great interest to me, and I do think that it's still. But Jack, what I'm trying to do here is to, like you, I am an expert on all topics,
every topic,
and I even have the legal right to be an expert on the law, which puts me in the category of everyone on Twitter, except for the legal right part, because I actually have that. But there was one video, and I should make it very clear to you, I never watch videos of people talking. I can't stand it. I just can't sit still and watch people talking. But what I do look at is the names of videos. And one thing I saw that really hit me in the chest, yes, it was with Tim. Politeness will lead to our demise. One of the things I want to do is to focus my podcast instead of on my incredibly broad knowledge of all topics.
All topics.
All cultures and all peoples.
Everything. Every known fact ever.
Right. Shut up. Shut up, YouTube. Is to focus on cancel culture, free speech, censorship. I think it's a good idea to have a theme for the Coleman. By the way, you might not know this. The name of the podcast, because this is being recorded before I started promoting it, because you're going to be one of the first in the can guys before we hit the pod waves. ColemanNation.
ColemanNation.
It is now. It's a pun. You have to get the pun. Otherwise, why are you using an old school ColemanNation? Because I just remember, I'm going to, just like the Sex Pistols killed rock and roll, my intention is to kill podcasting. So this is the culmination of podcasting as we knew it.
Participating in my own demise.
The demise of the old podcasting.
Got it.
You're already part of the new podcasting anyway. I'll say it again. Politeness will lead to our demise. And that is of relevance to me, but Jack, I was actually just saying that you and I spoke a little bit a few years ago. We haven't been in close contact recently, and now you don't need me. You're the man. But I mean, even my beard pales next to yours. You didn't have that beard in 2018, though, did you?
Sure did, man. Did? It just this is the remnants of the quarantine beard, and since my profile blew up so much during quarantine and the quarantine beard, it's now become part of the brand. So I'm locked in. Well, that happened to me also. My wife does not like the beard. She says I married a clean-shaven man, and even though I'm in this
rabbinical Orthodox Jewish environment where beards are, very, very, very common, she don't like it that much. But it's become the brand, because what happened was I started doing video in various formats in a couple of last year or so. That's it. I can't back out of it just as well. She's wrong anyway. I mean, she's right about like 99 points of the things, but she's wrong about the beard. And anyway,
make sure you remind her.
Well, she's not going to see this, is she? One of the things I talk about with people on Twitter a lot is this question of, do we have to become what we hate in order to defeat what we hate? And this is a great moral theme in any revolutionary struggle. Politeness will lead to our demise. Rhinos. Now, I hate rhinos too. I don't hate them. I mean, I don't like them politically. I hate vacillating. I hate unnecessary compromises. But cancel culture is about, it's an extraordinary sort of impoliteness. It's the kind of impoliteness that says you have no right to have an opinion. You don't have a right to be heard. I'll do all the talking and I'll decide who's going to be heard. We don't have to worry about canceling others, right? Because we don't hold any of the cards in terms of platforms that matter. But using that as just one example, how do we maintain our principle? And by the way, listeners, people coming from Mars, Jack and I are on the same page politically, I think, on probably 85, 90% of stuff. I don't even know what the other 10% is, but chances are we're in the same space. Do we have to be jerks to defeat the jerks? And if so, what are we getting? Just that we just get to be the jerks then? Answer's
coming, Ron. Well, I think that you brought up a number.
And don't tell me what you told Tim.
No.
I get a completely new answer.
A completely new answer. Totally refined, on the spot, freestyle. Here we go. I think you brought up a number of issues. Cancel culture is one thing. Politeness is another thing. The terrain that you elect for your conflict and the tactics that you choose to achieve your goals are another thing altogether. I think that when we're talking about politeness as being a handicap in some ways, politeness limiting our ability to be effective, that comes from the fact that even on the right, we have people who are interested in maintaining appearances, interested in maintaining demeanor, interested in maintaining their politeness and their sort of I'm above it.
They want to be liked. They want to be liked. They want to be liked by everyone.
They want to take a stand, and they don't want to be seen as getting dirty. And that is a problem, because what has happened is everybody over the last 15, 20 years, is just each time some little new encroachment pops up, people don't want to take action, and they want to maintain their politeness and their standards and whatever that are. And each time we do that, we acquiesce just a little bit. And I think that this conversation about politeness has been triggered in some ways by James Lindsay's behavior on Twitter, which I think he is being a fantastic example of why we need to throw politeness aside. He is single-handedly demolishing each of these gatekeepers along the way. People who think that they're advocating for the same beliefs as we are, but are willing to let the CRT BLM crowd just roll right over top of us. At some point, we have to accept that we are basically in a burlap sack, a mongoose and a cobra, and only one of them is coming out. And you have to decide which one are you going to be. The other side does not play by rules. They don't play by the law. They don't play by customs. They don't play by morality. And if we oh, but my morality, oh, but my customs, oh, but my politeness, as the country gets dragged down the toilet, what have we won? Nothing. The time to fight is now.
But what have we won? Okay, and there's a gazillion things I can unpack, and hope that I will in the time that we have. But what have we won if we, just like I said, become as, you'll agree, won't you, that just because they're complete a-holes, it doesn't mean we should be complete a-holes.
Let me give you a good example. In my little town, in my village, with my walled garden, I have laws. And in that town, you're not allowed to kill anybody. Okay? Murder is prohibited. Now, there is a horde of barbarians outside my gate trying to storm into my castle. And what are they going to do when they get here? They're going to kill all of us. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, I don't believe in killing people, or I'm going to defend myself and I'm going to kill the barbarian horde. And then I'm going to go back to not killing the people inside the walls.
Okay. So you're not going to give me a proof from pacifism, because pacifism is dumb. Everyone knows how dumb pacifism is. But we're fighting for civilization, right?
Yes.
Our argument is, look at these Antifa slobs. Look what they did to our country. Look at how even Democrats wearing suits and ties behave on the floor of the House and Senate. How they lie, cheat, and steal. Look at the moral degeneracy. Check, 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 check. Look at the abuse of law enforcement. Look at the abuse of investigatory agencies. Look at the abuse of the courts. Let's do that also so that we can win. Is that our argument?
No, I think that the argument is that people are hamstrung by things that are artificial limitations that actually aren't giving you any moral benefit. But I can't be malicious or mean to people that are actually violating the law.
Style. It's think of all there's a kind of a trope in the writersphere. But what about the mean tweets? All these principled conservatives, right, they couldn't actually articulate a problem with any Trump policies, but his style was so vulgar, so mean. Okay, that's easy. That's low-hanging fruit. Now, it's interesting to me that you raised James Lindsay, because I keep seeing him being used as an example of what we are talking about. And I read his tweets and I say, what the hell is the difference between his tweets and my tweets? Don't I come across like that? So someone answered me, Ron, you're a little smoother. You're a little bit further on the autism scale to normal than James.
Ron, you're not running around talking about big dick energy, or the size of your Johnson.
But it's because I embody that. I don't have to talk about it.
I mean, that's a great point.
Well, so here's another important point, though, which is that when you're a professional scumbag, you're Antifa. All you do is cash checks to go and break windows. That's your job. You've got a certain a certain breadth of action that a guy who has a law practice, who's admitted in a couple of states, and who has to appear before judges, and in a world in which judges tend to be extremely politicized as well, I got to be respectable. One thing that is very clear to me is that among lawyers on social media who have real practices, as opposed to people who went to law school and they're lunatics, like someone like Seth Abrams, just a lunatic. I can talk about him, but among people who are grown-ups and who have real practices and really represent clients, once you get much past Schlichter and Coleman, it gets really thin really fast in terms of people who are willing to stick their necks out there. And it might be that sometimes my partner Harmie Dillon is actually she's more polite than we are, but she can absolutely bring it when it's necessary. But lawyers, by definition, tend to be risk averse. Now, you say you and I were talking before we went on about, I joked with you that I got a real job. I can't do this all day long. You said I got a real job too. I don't know what real job is.
Yeah, but it's all aligned. My job is aligned with my content. So, I do the content.
That's right. Oh, and that's the point that I reached also. And that's why I see Harmeet. Why am I a partner with Harmeet? Because we are who we are. And I realized a while ago that all the people I was worried about offending, I wasn't on their speed dial anyway. Okay? They weren't going to call me. The people who are going to call me are the ones who want to hear me advocate, not be afraid, be bold. That leaves me with easily well over 100 million people in this country alone, right? I don't need the other 200 million. It'll be fine. Okay. I think we both understand that people need to be bolder.
This is wartime, Ron. It's wartime.
It is.
It's wartime. So there's special rules, special customs. And the normal stuff, the way you treat your neighbor is not how you treat your enemies who are at the gate with torches and pitchforks and they want to burn your house down.
And it's so amazing. I actually bumped on an old thread of mine today where I talked about how I've got a cousin who lives halfway between my house and my office.
Always asking for a ride.
No, he's done just fine for himself. He's a lawyer also. He's older than I am. He's my father's cousin, actually. And he was very kind to me early in my career, gave me some guidance and some opportunities. And he's a real lib. Like, of course, he's a Jewish guy, and he's not religious, and most non-religious Jews are very liberal, not all. And we have very little interaction online anymore because of the social media stuff. And I was thinking, gosh, I'd like to stop by and say hi and catch up with him. And then I said, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of hard feelings. Maybe he's mad at me. And it never occurs to me, maybe I should be mad at him. No, I wouldn't be. And that's the problem, is I wouldn't be. We on the right tend not to take these disagreements personally, but with important exceptions, including another cousin of mine who I've been texting with today about other business, who is really out there on the left. People want to, as you say, it's a war. They want to not only prevent us from enacting our policies, enunciating our policies, expressing our policies, they want us to not exist.
Dead. They want you dead, Ron. If you died, they wouldn't shed a tear.
That's really true. But most of us don't like.
Conservatism doesn't exist anymore. Okay. The right side of politics, the anti-woke folks, we have to become the party of change. We are also insurgents living inside of an occupied territory. Right? A Marxist-based ideology, this hardcore progressivism, the CRT stuff has taken over all of our institutions, captured everything, universities, media, corporations, government, and they dominate every institution. We are insurgents fighting an info-guerrilla war in an occupied state, and we have to become the party of change. So we're no longer reactionaries, we're revolutionaries, and we have to start acting like it. And in fact, they've actually written a book called Rules for Radicals that outlines how you take down the establishment. And I wish that we would do more of the things like isolate targets, make it personal, freeze them. That's something we should be doing. We should be calling out every single mid-level HR manager that's implemented BS CRT training at Coca-Cola and talking about where she lives and who her friends are and isolating these people to make it painful for them.
Now, here's the problem.
Wimps. They're all wimps.
Party discipline. Among professional Democrats, and that includes every member of any union, especially public service unions, any elected official, pretty much a lot of judges, I don't say all judges, not at all, but far too many, there's a Bolshevik level of discipline. No enemies on the left. Denounce nothing from the left. Conservatives don't have it and can never have it. How can you, a third party, it's a two-party country. Okay, Donald Trump came out and said that, and he's right as a political matter. You'll be in the wilderness forever. Heck, look what happened to the Tea Party because they couldn't control the mechanism of the deep state and the IRS. They were put out of business. If they wanted to become a political party, they couldn't. So when we don't have that party discipline, the answer can't be have it because we can't. How do we substitute for it? That's what we need. What's our substitute?
We have to smash all those wimps. We have to kick them out. We have to push them to the side. We have to isolate them and humiliate them. And we have to make them irrelevant.
So does that mean we're prepared to go 4 years perhaps with 80, 90 members of the House and 25 members of the Senate until we right the ship? And is there going to be anything left?
Donald Trump already wrote the playbook. The next candidate, I honestly hope it's not Trump, but the next candidate
You're right,
to take over has to be a networked individual, meaning they have to bring their own social media power, their own media distribution, all of their own platforms and connections. And they have to be able to take over the party apparatus. That's what happened with Trump. We have to do it again. And as we do it again the next time, maybe we work some more of this trash out of the system. These people are not on our side. Like that, like the governor of Arkansas saying that we should allow minors to undergo gender reassignment surgery as a way to broaden the tent. Get the hell out of here with that.
Mind-boggling. I thought you were going to say something that you didn't say. You said network individuals. And the problem with Donald Trump wasn't the mean tweets, wasn't the hair. The problem was when he got to Washington, he had no idea how it worked. That network he didn't have. And he said quite rationally, I'm going to trust the party.
No, he's not an institution builder. He failed at that miserably. It was irrational. If he would have accurately assessed the circumstances and understood that he completed a hostile takeover of the GOP, killed all 16 of those guys on stage in 2015 or 2016, hostile takeover, why would he think that these people he just conquered and stole the power from and humiliated were going to help him? He failed to understand that the GOP and the Democrats are the same party, the corporate uniparty fused with neoliberals.
So I just got control through my Venezuelan contacts of the voting machine apparatus.
Oh, sick, yeah.
Run by Dominion.
Nice.
Because you might not know this, but it's corrupt and it's run out of Venezuela, and I got all this great information. And by using child pornography information about the Supreme Court justices, I got them to order a new special election. And I just elected you president, not me. Okay? You're still young. Jack, how do you staff your administration, and how do you burn out the deep state? You got no friends in DC. Everyone there hates you, and they're gunning for you on. CIA's already got 3 levels of possible plans to play out. What are you doing? What are you going to do, Jack? Your move.
Yeah, I mean, he has to do it. That president, Donald Trump, he was the wrong guy for an institutional takeover, okay? Because he is a run and gun entrepreneur with a lean staff that outsourced and contracted everything. That's what real estate developers do. He's a promoter, not even really a developer. So he's just lending his name to things, hiring the right people, putting him in the right spot and letting them do things. No, this needs someone who's definitely not me, by the way. I reject your nomination and I refuse to serve. That's not me. Somebody has to understand how to take over a town. I live in Washington, D.C. In 2008, when Barack Obama won, I remember that this town was filled with steakhouses and cowboy hats for the last 8 years. And as soon as Obama staffed up all the NGOs, staffed up all of the presidential appointments, took over everything, they haven't left, it changed the tenor of the town completely. Nothing like that happened with Trump. The only evidence of a Trump administration was found at the Trump Hotel at the bar, at Harry's sometimes after we got kicked out of there, and occasionally a few other places around maybe Southwest Waterfront. But he had no idea. You have to start with yourself, with your immediate advisors, and you have to put I mean, look, people were upset with Trump for wanting loyalty tests. No, that's what he needed.
You just made a couple of really important points, and it's not the ones you think you made. Because they're so obvious to you, because you're a sophisticated businessman. We often hear about, and I'm guilty of this too, the contrast between a politician and a businessman. And you're saying, businessman? You know how many different kinds of businessmen there are? Trump, like you said, he's an inspirational figure within an organization. He's a brand. He's a destroyer of paradigms, and he understands finance. He understands how money works, but he's not a true manager. He's not a true planner, and he's not the kind of person who actually runs most businesses and most successful organizations. And that's really what you need, is the people to do the hard work. And he also had and has a weakness for cronies. Too many family members. So is there such a person? Is there a person? I'm asking you who you think would make a great president, but is it really, did Obama really do something? Remember, it was Washington, Emmett Terrell years ago coined a phrase in the Old American Spectator called strange new respect. Is that from before your time?
It might have been.
So this goes back to the 80s. People were conservatives, would show up in Washington. And then after a year or two, you'd start seeing an article in Time magazine and Washington Post. A strange new respect is being accorded Congressman Smith. A strange new respect was code word for we got him. We cut his balls off. He's not going to be a problem anymore. He likes it here. He understands the benefits of getting invited. To the extent that the Bush regime was even really anything more than cowboy hats and style and a couple of tweaks on the liberal versus conservative. We were fighting and dying for George W. Bush at the time. Let's not pretend that we were talking the talk of the Uniparty at the time. But isn't it really the case that when the Obama people came in, they asserted what was rightfully theirs attitudinally and also in terms of the culture of Washington, which had already spread out into the suburbs, into Northern Virginia? Could conservatives do that?
Yes, of course, because they understand, and it's built into their philosophy that action is the most important thing. Change is the most important thing. Aggressive staffing and reorganization and restructuring of institutions. That's baked into the cake of critical race theory, right? It is a philosophy that demands action. And so conservatism demands hands off, which is why it's dead. Dead. I think that the person that would be best in the executive position federally would be a state level executive, somebody who understands how to build and how to administer and how to run a jurisdiction of reasonable size. There's probably a couple candidates that come to mind right now. I don't know how ready they are.
Let's talk about one who doesn't, Chris Christie, because he's a great example of strange new respect on the state level. Chris Christie was such a ball buster when he was running and when he first got into office. He pushed back at the press. He cut the legs off the teachers union. He was like, wow, this can happen. This can be done. And by the time he left the governor's mansion, besides being universally reviled, he had really been captured completely by the Trenton version of the administrative state. And I think one of the things you're getting at is, because states by nature want to obtain more power, and that accords with the liberal program, inevitably, even using that power that you're talking about, that contrarian power, is going to involve a recommitment and an implied endorsement of their existence. Aren't we back in the same box again?
I mean, day one, fire everybody. How hard is that?
See, I never understood that. People said to me, well, Trump's trying to get this done, but there's all these staffing levels between him. I said, why doesn't he tell Barr that something has to happen? And if it doesn't happen, I want to line out my door the next morning of everyone on the org chart, and I'll fire them one at a time until the guy who has the stuff that I want declassified hands it over to me.
It's because Trump, in these circumstances, was a coward, okay? He fired people that shouldn't have been fired. He didn't stand up for people that should have been defended. He didn't protect his most inner circle. He just let people get canned and fired for all kinds of stupid reasons. He never had the back of anyone that was there who got it. I've interviewed a number of administration people. I've talked to people on the NSC. I've talked to all kinds of people, and they all say the same thing. He never had their back. He never hired the right people. And the amount of people inside the administration that were, quote, one of us, you could practically name on your hands.
Now, here's the scary part, because listen to what you're enunciating. Trump had many faults, but one of them wasn't courage. In other words, we say he was a coward, but he did things that really took incredible courage.
And I qualified it with this in this case. Yes.
But he is kind of an historic figure. He couldn't get it done. Now you have Biden, who is essentially a hollowed out husk of a man. When he was at his best, he was what we call in Yiddish a garnished. He was nothing. He was nothing. He brought nothing to the table other than political savvy and what's the phrase again, an appetite for corruption. Just another politician. The Democrats have it set up that the system does the work. It doesn't. I even saw this coming, by the way, with Hillary. The system does the work. They don't need any. In fact, if someone at the top is only a distraction and might say no from time to time. We came up with a Donald Trump. We, not you and I, but the GOP, we're conservatives in this country, came up with a guy with all the pluses of Donald Trump. He couldn't get it done. Are we asking for something in the nature of, Jesus Christ of politicians? In which case, who is that?
No, just somebody who's not so stubborn that he won't listen to people that know what they're talking about. I mean, I am making the assumption that the high quality, high caliber people that I know that were in the White House that had direct access to Donald Trump, I'm hoping that they told him these kind of things. Maybe they chickened out in the Oval Office. I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't think so. These are really high quality people I'm talking about.
And you and I know some of the same people and some different people. I think to some extent, I often have the impression that he might have had too many of them. I think that he was listening to a lot of people who seemed to have very similar titles or portfolios. And I recall speaking to someone who had worked with him in a business context on a deal. And apparently one of the things he liked to do was to go around the room and ask people their opinions and have them fight it out. And that would be sort of his way of getting things done. And you can sort of imagine the benefit of that. But at the end of the day, you need to be the guy who's going to make the call. And you can decide who you're going to listen to and not listen to. And I think to some extent, governing by consensus of your advisors is essentially not governing. You need to really to make that call. I don't know. Easy for me to say. No one listens to me anyway.
They pay you mightily to listen to your advice, Ron. I'm certain about that.
So, Jack, what are we gonna do?
Well, right now we got to throw sand in the gears and make it as hard as possible for the left to continue to corrupt our lives and to destroy the country. That's number one. We have to consider ourselves insurgents in an occupied land and do everything that we can to slow it down, disrupt it, and make their progress as slow as possible.
Do you agree with me that people, and I tweeted about this in December.
Your show, Ron, yes.
That's not the kind of show I want. No, see, I'm a stupid conservative. I want to be liked. Do you not agree? Man, I should have put it the other way to see how.
I object to the form of the question.
I'll allow it. Yeah, it is my show. Nobody know. Rank and file people, normal people, not superstars like Jack and Ron, are more that the Democrats, although part of the game, and this is something actually that James Lindsay has been pointing out very effectively, part of the game they're playing now is to actually, it no longer pays to call out hypocrisy. They're no longer amenable to charges of hypocrisy. It's look what we're doing and what we can get away with. Live it or live with it. That's the new world. Fine. They are doing that at the risk of disaffecting more otherwise law-abiding, trustworthy, good citizens than ever before.
Yes, I agree 100%. So two things. One, we need to throw sand in the gears, slow it down. Well, three things. Slow them down. Two, we need to help them accelerate their stupidity. I think that one of the best things that we have going for us is this incredible spread of the CRT training stuff going through the elementary schools. What a faster way to red pill a middle American family who's been rationally ignorant about politics for some time, because it really made no sense to be totally informed in politics. One, your vote's never going to really have the deciding factor. And two, the influence of this president or that president, maybe your taxes are different, maybe some minor differences. Nowadays, if you're not aware of what's going on, man, they're going to reach right into your child's brain, turn it to mush, and turn them against you. Okay. And basically destroy them as an individual who believes that they are responsible for their own actions. And so actually the spread of CRT through the elementary schools is going to be a really red pill awakening moment for parents when they find out that their 5-year-old daughter has to sit with her whiteness and be uncomfortable and accept her participation in white dominance culture. So we have actually, I want that to actually accelerate. And then 3, we have to build intentional communities of choice. Okay. We have to associate with people that share our values and strictly associate with those people, recreate with those people, do business with those people, marry your sons and daughters with those people, and build separate infrastructure, economic systems, communication systems, which is possible. I've done it. I'm doing it right now.
We've been doing it for a couple thousand years.
So exactly, Ron, exactly. The dissident groups have survived in worse conditions for all of history. There is a rule, there's a playbook, right?
Yes, I like everything you're saying. I think I'm going to go in out of order. Point 3, the Jews, not Jews, and not the Jew. Whenever you see a guy say the Jew, that's the guy to block immediately. The Jew strikes you while calling out whatever it is. We demonstrated that you can do that. We have an entire parallel subculture. We pay our taxes. We don't pay if we don't have to pay them. I mean, just like any rational person, this is all doable. We yes. That's C. A, sand in the gears. That's what Ron Coleman does for a living, is throw sand in the gears. I file lawsuits. I lose most of them when they're political because we're fighting to City Hall, and the judges came out of City Hall frequently, but we keep fighting because that's what we have to do. I'm worried about number 2, or B. Don't you love when people do a switch from it? If I do it,
hey, I'm on Roman numeral I here, and I still don't know what we're talking about.
Number 2, accelerate the stupid, the CRT. I don't know if our middle America has the cojones that you and I would like to think they do to put a break on all this.
It's not so much that I'm putting it on the family of 3 of working class folks to put the brake on it. What I want them to do is to be offended, appalled, and outraged, and to understand where it came from. And so that the next time they go to the polls, they're ready to vote the right way, and they're ready to tell their friends, and they're ready over coffee with their neighbors to be like, can you believe this shit? What's going on with this? I can't believe this.
So you know what? I'm not sure which is the bigger challenge, because on the one hand, I don't know if they're prepared to do that, because you know what? I think 2 and 3 are dependent on each other. Unless they know that there's a network for them of like-minded people. Because it used to be you went to the school board meeting. What could be a better example of an American experience in democracy? All parents who have nothing but their children's welfare at stake, talking about what's the most wholesome and best thing we can do for the education of our children. And then we find out when the school board members think they're off mic, the horrible things they're saying and the disgusting things that they want to push this. So,
well, add to that what happened in Loudoun County, Virginia, where the teachers and administration put together a hit list of parents who opposed their CRT work and committed to going after and destroying these people. So it's not just that they're even secretly behind closed doors bad-mouthing us. They're proactively trying to come after people. And I honestly, I believe if we have more of that, we publicize more of that, it's going to happen. So what we have to do is publicize it and get the word out and spread the message and communicate and continue to produce content and continue to get these ideas out into the world. Man, you would not believe the reach of some of the people's shows, my show, people's shows I've been on. I've been on Tim Pool's show so much, and his reach is so far that I just walking down the street in random cities across the country, people are screaming my name out from across the street. It's crazy to me. But if we, on those kind of platforms, I'm sure what will soon to be mega successful podcast here, Ron, especially with such a great guest. I was the first podcast guest on Tim Pool too. Look what happened to him. So this is obviously an auspicious start for you.
Thank you very much.
We got to just keep pounding the message and never be silenced, even if they try.
You know what? There's no compromise. There really can't be compromise. I can't pop somebody in the nose because that stops me from being able to practice, in my profession. But in every other sense, we really listen. I can't recommend it as a lawyer that people violate the law. So because as a lawyer, I would never represent that they violate the law. Then I won't recommend that. But an unjust law is something that you should be talking to people about, and you should be considering challenging it. And here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, Jack. And I'm gonna ease us into the coda here, because I promised our producer that we were gonna. This is about the amount of time we would spend, and you're a busy man.
I got all the time in the world for you, Ron Coleman.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
$750 now.
The check is in the mail, I assure you. People need to know that they can do it, that they're not going to be savaged for it, that they have to have the courage to stand up, that they have friends who are willing to stand up for them. And this is really important, to have friends, and you have your liminal order club, which is extremely exclusive, and 30 days a month and 30 people a month. But I've been talking to a lot of people about lots of network building of that nature. It has to happen. And we have to be prepared, of course, for deplatforming ourselves. People need to know where else to find us. That's part of the reason I started moving into video, was not that YouTube is a safe haven from anything in particular, but at least it's step two. And plus, it does get your face more recognized. And in fact, in my community, I think that I have achieved that, so that I'm an easy target, very easy for the bad guys to pick up. But Jack,
Ron, what you're talking about are demonstrated acts of courage. People need to stand up, act courageously, publicly, and be willing to take the consequences. Now, I understand that that's very difficult. So what we're talking about here is a complete structural realignment of your life.
And of your mentality, of your framing.
Of all of it. You need to have your life, your work, your community aligned with your values. If you are working in an environment that doesn't share your values, that is a ticking time bomb.
And people have to understand, often I get tweets directed at me. Ron Coleman, this is a problem for a lawyer. Shouldn't you help with this? I'm the lawyer. Find me the client. If somebody wants to put his name on a complaint and come up with a way of funding that, one of the big problems that Harmeet and I face in our religious liberties litigation is that everybody wants someone else to be the person to stand up for their religious liberties. It's not going to happen. You got to do it yourself. And if you don't, that opportunity is not going to come back. I hope you'll come back, though, Jack. Oh man, I couldn't resist it.
Come on back, Jack. No, of course I'll come back anytime you want, bro.
No, I don't mean the rhyme. I mean the segue to coming back anytime. No, I don't want to come back. I want you to have me on. Although maybe this is gonna be you, right? You're using this, I'm using this. So listen, I really appreciate hanging out with you and talking about this stuff and trying to keep it a little bit focused. Of course, it does implicate everything. Everything has become political. And in that sense, we all are Marxists now. It is all political. We've got to fight back. And Jack, it's been awesome. You've thought this stuff through very thoroughly. I'm in awe of you and of your extremely long beard. And
thank you very much, Ron. It's a pleasure to be on the show. I appreciate you and Harmeet's work.
Same here.
Big fan.
I appreciate
it. I'm ready to be a plaintiff in any case you want me to be, Ron.
Oh, now that's music to my ears. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Jack.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for listening to the ColemanNation podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. If you like the show, please rate it 5 stars and leave a review. For more information, please visit the show's website at ColemanNation.com. That's Coleman-Nation.com. Or you can visit my blog at likelihoodofconfusion.com. Join us next time on the Coleman Nation podcast and have a great day.